Good morning. Welcome back to Duty's Daggers, and we're doing a part 2. So yesterday I put out a video entitled 5 Things That Annoy Me About the Knife World, and I asked you guys to leave in the comments what were your pet peeves, annoyances with the knife world, and there were 260 comments. You guys were really annoyed. And I want to read some of the comments because some of them are really good. Most of them are really good. Almost all of them are really good. I could have done a part 2 taking your ideas and making them my own, but I figured I would just give you guys credit for, putting these awesome comments down here. So we'll just read through them. We don't have time to do 260 of them, but we'll do a lot of them. So these are things that you guys find annoying about the knife world, your pet peeves about the knife world. I reckon 7351 says knife tubers constantly hyping the newest generic Chinese knife of the week. I agree completely with that one. It kind of goes along with my thumbnail annoyance that I mentioned in my video, where it seems like every thumbnail is another Chinese knife and they're saying it's the best this or that, or saying it's perfect, and they do it over and over again with multiple knives, saying multiple knives are the best this or that. It's tiring. It's tiring. By the way, if you're a knife reviewer, you make knife videos, or you're a knife maker, watch this video or read the comments under my 5 things that annoy me about the knife world, because this is the feedback from the community here. These are things that we're all tired of, or that we all want to see happen. So you can get some good ideas down here. Next one, front flippers that you have to have Spider-Man's dexterity to make work. This is from Mike Sassoni. Now I really like front flippers in general, but I agree there are some that are not easy to use, for sure. So yeah, I get that one. Glass breakers and bottle openers on knives that will never be used for either purpose. Yeah. If you could do a glass breaker that's very inconspicuous, then I'm okay with that. Like, I like the one on the Umnumzan because it's just this little tiny thing that pokes out. It's not at the butt of the knife. It's up at the top, and it hides itself when the knife's open. I think that's a good way to do it. But yeah, like how Microtech does it, like this half-inch long thing sticking out of the butt of the knife. I don't like that. Let's see. Next one. Bob Rutledge. Scales, if the scales are heavily textured and the pocket clip doesn't land on a flat spot. Yeah, totally. Pocket destroyer clips that rest on textured surface. When you slide those into your pants, they're gonna rip eventually. It's just a soft thing in between two really hard things rubbing. You're gonna destroy your pocket. From Mike Summers, and he gives me 5. Let's see, viewers who think they understand Rockwell hardness but don't. Yeah, I mean, don't talk about something you don't know about, but I don't want to shame anyone for not knowing something. Just encourage them to go read about it, but I don't think that's what he's doing. I'm just saying in general, if you don't know about something, don't talk about it like you do know what you're talking about. He says knife companies who put high prices on their knives because they have great steel, but they don't know how to harden that steel correctly. Yeah, soft heat treats, I should say incorrect heat treats, unoptimal heat treats are very annoying. When you have an awesome steel that the maker didn't heat treat correctly, and it doesn't hold an edge worth of crap. That sucks. That really sucks. Knife companies who refuse to make sharpening choils correctly. Yeah, a bad sharpening choil will definitely piss me off, especially when you can't fix it yourself because a stop pin lands right in there, or for whatever other reason. That's the worst. Let's see. Gruffalo says, my cynical ass just had to look at your thumbnails to see if you had any clickbaity thumbnails, and to my surprise, you don't. Kudos. Thank you. I try really hard not to do clickbait titles, and I think I've successfully done that, and will continue to do that. Sever7 says, a G10 front scale makes me nauseous. I wouldn't say that's a pet peeve of mine, but I will say that, like, with hinderers that come with the G10 show side scale, whenever I get one of those, I always eventually replace the G10 with a titanium one. I don't say it makes me nauseous or I hate it, but I do prefer titanium over G10 almost always. Craze77 says, when a reviewer cuts paper and they say this thing is so slicey. Yeah, there's a reviewer that here, I'll demonstrate. He'll go like this. He'll be reviewing a knife and he'll be like, all right, let's test the edge. He gets it and he goes like this. Oh my gosh, look at how sharp that is. That's crazy. Look at that. It's like, what? You're going like 1/8 of an inch into the paper. Like, what is that showing? Nothing. But that particular reviewer does not really use his knives very often. He's more of a show and tell kind of channel, which has its place for sure. But if you want to know how a knife functions, how it cuts, how it carries, that's not the channel you should go to. Let's see what else we got. A lot of people agreed with my crossbar locks, with my disliking crossbar locks, but there were a few people who disagreed. This person, Judgment Kazi, says, I think crossbar locks are a lot more reliable than you give them credit for, especially now that it's a generic locking system and there's actual competition. Yes, Omega springs can break, but it's pretty rare. And I think saying if you've used one for any length of time, it's probably happened to you is a wild overestimate. It reminds me of the people in the gun world that stick to revolvers because semi-auto pistols are unreliable. It's a longer comment. I won't read all of this. But yeah, again, it's just my personal preference. I don't like crossbar locks at all. That doesn't mean they're bad per se. I think they're bad, but that's just me, you know. I would rather have a knife that is 100% not going to fail rather than have a knife that is, I don't know, maybe 85% not going to fail. Or even higher, you know. If there's any percent chance that it could fail, I probably wouldn't want to carry it very often. Okay, he also says, my pet peeve of the day is people who comment, that's not what pocket knives are for, on an intentionally destructive testing video. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I get that for sure. I agree about crossbar locks. Christopher Robin. YouTubers that post a video every single week of my most carried knives this week, showing 5 to 6 knives each time. Yeah, that's funny. It's like, how there's not enough time in the week to carry this many knives, and if you carried them one time, does that qualify as being my most carried knives? Yeah, that's funny. He also says, I recently decided I'm done with crossbar locks after my Omega springs broke on a third knife. I hate the weak detent, especially since I carry a right back pocket, and it's not reliable if it breaks out in the field. Yes, I agree. Ryan Smock 96 says, he gave me 5. Poor edge termination. Yeah, when you get a smile, or it ends in a bad sharpening choil. A plunge grind that's too close to the edge. Yep. Uneven bevels, wavy edges, and no sharpening choils. I agree with all those. Clayton Rogerson says, I'm over the high-end Chinese knives everyone's trying to sell. Let's get that stuff back stateside. I agree. Let's see. Totally agree about crossbar locks. Oh, here's a good one. Mitsubishi. Usually avoid YouTube knife reviews showing perfectly clean, unscratched knife after a year of hard use. That's funny. You know, I take care of I think, you know, you take care of your knife, but you notice if it has like regular wear marks on it. You know, if I'm showing a knife that I hard used for a year, I'm going to clean it up nicely before the video, probably. I'm not going to leave a bunch of gunk on the blade, you know. I'm going to clean it, but it'll have signs of wear, you know. I think it's impossible to carry and hard use a knife for a year without getting any scratches on the pocket clip, for example. That's impossible. I think. I mean, it's very unlikely, I should say. But yeah, for sure. Also, people that review knives that and talk about how well they cut when they haven't cut with it. You could theorize on how it'll cut just looking at how thin the blade stock is, how the grind is, the blade shape, and all that. That you could do, and I do that if I haven't cut with the knife yet. But you know, saying for sure this is how it's going to perform without trying it, you know. Mr. Nakamura says, number 1, any steel without a proper with improper heat treatment. Number 2, counterfeit proliferation. Yeah, counterfeits and clones. That's annoying. I'm not a clone guy, you know. Some people are, but it's theft of. It's theft. You know, they're stealing someone else's design and passing it off as the real thing when it's not. Number 3, he says, knife hype without any real world testing. Yep. Inconsistent factory edges. Yep. Let's see here. Kathleen Smith, another pet peeve of mine is YouTubers that push the sell. Yeah, YouTubers that obviously are trying to sell you the knife. That's definitely annoying. I really don't watch very many knife YouTubers anymore. I have a very small handful that I'll still watch. But so many of them are just so obviously trying to push the knife to make money selling it. And you can't trust their opinion because they're going to make it sound better than it maybe actually is because they want to sell it. You can't trust their opinion. Even if they're trying hard to be objective, the fact that if someone buys that knife, you're going to make some money is going to skew your opinion of it. It's going to skew what you say about it. It is. Even subconsciously, I think it would. Double clutch. Yeah, that's annoying for sure. Like when you disengage a knife and you take your thumb away, but it's still, you know, the detent ball hasn't jumped up onto the tang yet, so it gets stuck like this and you have to like shake it down. That's annoying. That's just the detent ball being in the wrong position. Stone Carrot says, pocket clips that the designers never tested in pants. Yeah, it certainly seems like there's clips out there that they never even tried to put them in their pocket, the designers. Yeah. And a couple people said when I was saying that, people saying Chris Reeves instead of Chris Reeve, some people said, oh, it's because it's like a possessive thing, like Chris Reeves design, '*S. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people that say, like, for example, Chris Reeves invented the frame lock. They're saying his last name is Reeves. I'm not mistaking it for a possessive thing. That's not it. I'm not that dumb. This is funny. Les3782 says, I know I'm the odd man out, but I hate the color blue on knives. Yeah, I mean, a pet peeve is a pet peeve. It's your personal thing that bothers you. Let's see. Knife Design Nerds says, knife tubers constantly hyping the newest generic Chinese knife. That seems to be a big one, folks. So if you're a knife reviewer out there, you know, take notice of what people think here. Fancy handle materials for the sake of overpricing the knife while making it unbalanced and worse to use. Overpriced M390 and titanium frame locks in 2025. The steel is common and the lock is just a slit in the handle. You can't ask $500 for it. The complete and utter lack of solid criteria other than blade steel. Seems like most knife tubers really don't know what makes a knife good or bad. Yeah, I can say that, probably some of that for sure. Let's see. Matt, just a dude, says, as a member of the 10% left-handed club, my biggest pet peeve just might be knives that don't offer a reversible clip. Yeah, totally makes sense. If I was left-handed, that would piss me off too. But not because I'm right-handed. Part of my brain's like, yeah, but having those holes in the show side or the slot milled out kind of ruins the aesthetic. It can, but I would say for you left-handed people out there, I can deal with it. I could deal with a couple holes or a little cutout so that you guys can get some reversible pocket clips. Lazy Boy says, I'm going to say the pocket clip is the most oversight of a lot of my knife manufacturers. Totally. And it's so important. The clip is so important. It's literally, you engage with it every single time you take the knife and put it back out of your pocket and put it back in. Every single time. Very, very important. The Pugilist says, I don't recall Duty ever posting anything clickbaity. Not that it hasn't happened, but I don't recall it, and that goes a long way with me. Right on, man. Let's see. Carl Sanford says, they call him Chris Reeves because of the actor who played Superman in the 80s. Now, I wasn't aware of that. Let me just Google Chris Reeves. It says his name is Chris Reeve. So maybe they're mispronouncing his name too. Let's see. Cold Steel's pocket clips. I'm not very familiar with Cold Steel's pocket clips. This is kind of not related to knives, but Jesse Fleming says the Big Johnson shirt. Apparently the Big Johnson shirts bother him very much. More people agreeing with me on the crossbar lock thing. Pocket clips that are too stiff. Yeah, totally. Mr. Eric says, people yapping about how this new knife they bought is their grail. I will agree that the term grail can be overused for sure sometimes. I've seen people say anytime they get a new knife, they're like, oh, it's my grail, I got my grail. To me, a grail is that one, maybe two, but I kind of view it as like the one like pinnacle knife that you are striving towards that's very difficult to obtain. For me, it's a Sharp by Design arch nemesis. That is my ultimate grail. They're very expensive and they're pretty difficult to get, and it's totally out of my price range, so that's why it's a grail for me, because to me it's pretty unobtainable right now. Hopefully someday I will get one, but maybe not, and that's why it's a grail. Peanut Mel says, I hate getting sniped on a drop. That's super annoying. definitely. Let's see. Reviews of knives that are impossible to get. Kevola says. I mean, yeah, I get how that could be annoying because you know, someone's talking about this cool knife and you're like, oh man, that looks really cool, I want to get one, and then you find that you can't. They're not in stock, they're hard to get for whatever reason. But there are still people that own one or are thinking about getting one that maybe can afford it, or, you know, for whatever reason, want to still have a review of it. So, you know, you still got to review those knives. Civilian Soldier says, the only thing that bugs me is that I can't grow a killer stash like that. Yeah, it is pretty good, right? Thank you. Pancho says, when YouTubers put bug out killer. Yeah. I mean, that might have been fine with like the first bug out killer, but now there's so many that pretty much any knife is a bug out killer because the bug out just fucking sucks. Elitism in certain brand groups. Sleepy Spartan says, CRK owners are some of the worst. Strider is another one. The guy who always says no knife is worth this much money without understanding the amount of work that goes into making them. Yeah, totally. The Rosie is a prime example. I love mine, and it's almost the same response I get from average day people every time when they find out what it cost. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, completely. I agree. Z-Bard says, I'm over Chinese knives and every knife tuber pumping them up. Yep. There's so many of those. I'm skipping over a lot. But that is a big pet peeve for a lot of people. Ronnie says, my pet peeve is when a frame lock is impossible to open if your finger even slightly touches the lock bar. Yeah, sensitive frame locks, definitely. You have to kind of just hold it differently than you would any other knife. Yeah, it sucks. Man, we're almost at a half hour already. Let's just skim pretty quickly here. There's so many. Thick blade grinds. People not using D2. I agree, D2 is pretty awesome when it's heat treated right. I think it could make a comeback. Emphasis on fidgety drop shut knives. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, as long as being fidgety is not its primary attribute, it should be everything else first, you know, everything a good knife should be, and then afterward, if it's also fidgety, hell yeah, that's like awesome, hell yeah. But a knife being fidgety just to be fidgety, yeah, that's annoying for sure. Muscle, aka Ozzy, says, when every new Chinese knife is a banger. Yeah, even the word banger is beginning to annoy me. All right, that's about it. Okay, one more. Giant Fatberg says, I hate the word snag when people say, like, when they scored a new knife, I snagged it. Yeah, I could see how that could get annoying. Pet peeve sort of, in a pet peeve sort of way. That's it. Obviously there's a lot more. If you guys want to read all of them, just go to the video. You can read all of them yourself. But thank you for just annihilating the comments section like you guys did. That was so fun reading those. It was just a blast. So thank you. Maybe we'll do a part 2 with some more things that bother me, but probably not. I mean, this is kind of the part 2. But I like this style video. Maybe we'll do something else. Like, I want to do one where I talk about different knife tubers. Like, maybe I'll tell you the small handful of knife tubers that I still enjoy. Maybe we'll do something like that. But anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching. Like the video before you leave, and I'll see you in the next one.